Hi, and welcome to the show. Subscribe at kevinmd.com/podcast. Get CME for this episode by clicking on the CME link in the show notes. Today, we welcome on the show Yael Dreznik. She's a pediatric surgeon and she's author of the book 26, which we'll talk about in this episode. Yael, welcome to the show.
Hi, welcome, Kevin. Thank you very much. Well, my name is Yael Dreznik. I'm a pediatric surgeon from a senior pediatric surgeon in Schneider Children's Hospital, which is the biggest hospital for children in Israel. And I wanted to talk about the book 26, which was a bestseller in Israel and now is available on Amazon. And I hope and I think it will be an interesting talk with you. I am 44 years old. I have two daughters. That's for now.
All right, so we'll talk about the book in a little bit, but tell us, what's it like to practice pediatric surgery in Israel?
Pediatric surgery is a 6 years time of residency, out of which 2 years in general surgery, which I have done in Sheba Medical Hospital. And then you proceed to 4 years of pediatric surgery, through which you choose like a subspecialty. My interest is oncology. And, pediatric surgical oncology like Wilms and neuroblastoma. We do a lot of surgeries in Schneider. And I intend, I think, 1 year from now or 2 years from now to go to fellowship, maybe in the USA, to CHOP or Boston Children's Hospital. From the point of view, it's not general surgery. It's easier to work with the kids. The prognosis is better and I love them. But as a mother, it has its own thoughts. I have also daughters, and it's not, when I operate a child, I keep thinking of him after the surgery, and I get very attached to families, and I think it's the best occupation that one must have.
Now, when you go through those difficult times, when a case doesn't go as well as you think, and you are already so attached to the patients and families, tell us, how difficult is that for you, and what are some of the things that you do to go through such difficult situations?
I think that the decision to go to pediatric surgery instead of general surgery without the pancreatic cancer and the gastric cancer and so on is because although you see children with cancer, the prognosis is much better. You are right in what you're asking, because there are events that you just cannot forget. It's like a scar in your heart for the next. You cannot just go through it. And I have a lot of patients that I cannot forget them. It's hard, but most of the time it's joyful. It's lovely.
All right. So let's talk about your book. The book is called 26. Now tell us, how did this book come together?
Okay, so I ordered my copy of the book here from Amazon. And first of all, I think you must remember the days when we were young. I think it started when my uncle was a general surgeon. Mm-hmm. And in those days, like three years ago, general surgeons used to work more than 35 or 40 hours per day. They came to the work at Monday a.m. and went home Tuesday and the end of the day. They didn't sleep, and they had endless shifts. And when I was a resident, I used to come to work at 6 a.m. in the morning and go, and about 2 p.m. the day after. It was very demanding and I was very, very tired. And lately in Israel, all the residents are doing a 26 hours shift per day, hence the name of the book. And although it is much better than older times, it is still a lot of hours. And we don't see it in other jobs like in pilots or like in, drivers, that you keep doing a very stressful job for such long hours. So now in Israel, the government announced that it won't be 26 hours, especially for internal medicine and for the ER, it will be much less, but still the surgeons will have to do 26 hours shift. So the book tells us, if you remember, it was a TV show with Jack Bauer, 24 hours, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was a really good show. We used to see it, to like binge and without stop. And I wanted to tell the story of us, the physicians that work like from 5 a.m. until the morning, and to tell the world how can we do it. So I start the book at 5 a.m. when I go to the hospital, and every hour something is coming, a patient from the ER, a bleeding patient, and then, an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go and running, to suture a lady. And everything that happened to me in my professional life is written in the book. I mean, there is nothing there that is like fiction. The book, a lot of residents and professors and nurses bought it and told me that I actually told their way of life. So I thought, well, to be a doctor is actually an occupation that is universal. I mean, what I have in my shift is similar to what a physician in New Zealand or in Holland, in the Netherlands or in USA has also. I mean, we deal with sick people, we deal with a boy that needs appendectomy, and all of us feel the same. So I think that this book can express all of our universal feelings regarding this beautiful occupation.
Now, tell us one of these stories from the book, because for those who aren't familiar with the medical world, they often don't know what it's like to be on a 26-hour shift. So, what's a story from the book that you could share with us that really tells people who aren't familiar with the medical profession what it's really like?
Okay. So actually, this book is dedicated to three persons, and it is written in the first page.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is my dearest patient, and the story is written as it happened to me. He was 45 years old patient, healthy, healthy otherwise, with no medical history, that came to the ER when he was a bit yellowish and his bilirubin level was high.
Mm-hmm.
And we suspected, choledocholithiasis. We didn't think about other option. And I really got attached with him and his wife, and they were lovable. I really liked them from the moment I saw them.
Okay.
And we saw, in the ultrasound that it is pancreatic cancer.
Mm.
And the first thing that I did, of course, he died about 4 months following the initial diagnosis, because it was stage 4 with liver metastasis. And the book is dedicated to him. I went to his wife, to her home. We are still in touch, of course. And I gave her the first copy of the book, and we just cried together and hugged. And it is one of the hardest stories that according to your question, that is being told in the book.
Why is it important for physicians to share these stories and really express themselves, in your case, especially in a book? Why is it important to tell these stories?
I think that all of us, I think we are doing the hardest job on earth. I really think so. And my friends, we all find a way to express ourselves. Like, my friends are doing marathons, other friends are sleeping all the time where they're not in the shift, and I write. I mean, this is how I can, fulfill or just, feel that my thoughts are being like processed. If you understand what I'm saying, it's like to go to a shrink, but I just write down everything I have, and it's a very good way to analyze my thoughts.
Now, after writing these book and telling your stories, you said that it helps analyze your thoughts. Has it changed you as a physician after telling these stories and writing this book?
It's a really good question. I think that I have come to a knowledge that to write and to talk it is really my take-home message, as you said in the first, in your first words. I think that physicians that talk about things that happen to them, or they write, or they can accomplish two things. First of all, the patients see them and understand that we are also human, and the connection is much more, it's better. And the other thing is, for us, I think it helps us to understand better our daily life. And I think I think I'm a better person than before.
All right. We're talking to Yael Dreznik. She's a pediatric surgeon. She's the author of the book 26. Yeah, how did you manage to collect all these stories? Like, how did you know that you were going to write a book? Were these just stories that you kept as you were training? Did you just decide to sit down and think back through your medical career about all the poignant stories that you kept? So, how did you come up with all these stories and experiences in the book?
Well, I must thank the COVID pandemic because it allowed me in one of, the weeks that I had to stay home, it allowed me to just write down all the stories that were kept, in the drawer or something or in my computer. So I managed to just in 4 months to write the whole story from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., like that.
And then the book's been released. What are some of the reactions of your colleagues and patients who've read the book?
I've got hundreds of letters and in Israel, and the idea to translate it to English and to go to Amazon was because I've got emails from friends from Philadelphia, one friend from China, one friend from New York, and also from London. They came to me and said, "Yeah, we cannot read it in Hebrew. We heard about your book. Can you please update it, upload it to Amazon?" And then I started, to do a revision and to translate it. So I really hope that not also medical students, but people from around the world will see and will have understand what are we going through. And I think it's also a very interesting story, not because I wrote it, because medicine it's interesting.
And Yale, my final question. For those new readers who are about to read your book, what are some of the main messages you want them to come away with?
When I was a medical student, I read, like all of my friends, The House of God. If you remember the book, it's like before it's gonna hurt. The House of God was our book of medical students, and I liked it a lot. But it was like a bit cynical, you understand? And my book is not cynical. It's full with love for patients. And it's not like a romantic theme that I want to say. I just, of course, I'm talking about my tiredness and I'm talking about my family and I'm talking about very big, events that were very hard for me, like the death of a patient. But in the end, it tells us how to be compassionate for our patients and how to ever forget that this is not a regular occupation. It's a way of life.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story time and insight. Thanks again for coming on the show.